All right, one of the other articles that we're going to take a look at is titled Sesame Street Introduces Its First Homeless Character. Again, we're going to start off by just reading this article together, so follow along with me as we read the text. It starts off. Lily is a hot pink puppet with red hair. She is the first character to be homeless on Sesame Street. She was first introduced to the series in 2011. She explained that her family was experiencing food insecurity. They didn't have enough to eat. In the new online clips, the 7-year-old character explains that she is staying with friends on Sesame Street. This is because her family has lost their home. Now we don't have our own place to live, and sometimes I wonder if we'll ever have our own home, Lily expressed to Elmo. Sesame Workshop is the non-profit organization behind Sesame Street. It is reintroducing Lily as the first homeless character on the show in order to provide hope for those children that are currently without a home of their own. The storyline was created as a new initiative. It is part of the Sesame Street in Communities program to alleviate the stigma around homelessness. In the videos, Lily is also shown to be supported by Elmo. He tells her, "We got this," and that her friends will always be there for her. Sesame Street in Communities has also provided resources for parents and caregivers. They offer free, bilingual resources and activities. There are videos that show Lily being loved by her friends, Elmo and Sophia. Others show other kids who don't have homes sharing what the idea of home means to them. 1 in 20 children younger than 6 years old in the United States experienced homelessness. This is according to a 2017 release of the 2014-15 report by the Administration for Children and Families, a division of the Department of Health and Human Services. We know children experiencing homelessness are often caught up in a devastating cycle of trauma, the lack of affordable housing, poverty, domestic violence, or other trauma that cause them to lose their home, the trauma of actually losing their home, and the daily trauma of the uncertainty and insecurity of being homeless, said Sherry Weston. She is the president of Global Impact and Philanthropy at Sesame Workshop. We want to help disrupt that cycle by comforting children, empowering them, and giving them hope for the future. We want them to know that they are not alone, and home is more than a house or an apartment. Home is where the love lives. All right, let's jump in back to our articles. So this one's titled Sesame Street Introduces Its First Homeless Character. Take a look. Let's just circle the date that this was published on. This was just a little over a year ago. Continue scrolling down. We're just going to jump into the text. There's a few things that I just want to point out to you. This one is not terribly long, so this won't be a long video. However, I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page on a few things. So take a look. Let's jump into the second paragraph. They talk about Lily and they say that her and her family were experiencing food insecurity. Now, the author of this text gives us a context clue as to what food insecurity means. And they tell us right here in the sentence that food insecurity means they didn't have enough to eat. So we don't have to jot down a new definition. They give it to us right there using that context clue. Continue to the end of this page and let's look. There's a few terms and phrases that I want you to be aware of. The first one is down here. It says the storyline was created as a new initiative. Circle this word initiative. Now when we talk about an initiative, and that new initiative means that they are taking action. They're starting something new. They're doing something different. So on your article, would you jot down one of those definitions? Take action, new, or something different. Okay, and before we go much further, I just want to show you the clip that Sesame Street released as part of this new initiative to introduce Lily to the children. All right, let's jump back to our text. So part of the reason that they decided to introduce Lily on Sesame Street, they said, was to alleviate the stigma around homelessness. We're going to look at two of these words. We're going to look at this word alleviate, and we're going to look at the word stigma. All right, so alleviate, we use this word when we talk about joint pain, right? This ad for Run Forever Sports says alleviate elbow pain. We also talk about it when, we're applying ice to a sore muscle or an ankle, right? So we're going to alleviate pain. So jot down based on these images, what you think the word alleviate means here. And then the word stigma, I'm gonna zoom in really fast. Stigma means that there is a discrimination against a person based on their situation. Oops, excuse me. Let's try that again. Discrimination against a person based on their situation. All right, let's continue on to the backside of our article. And one of the things I really want to just point out to you guys and make sure that you know and are aware of is this third paragraph here. It gets away from the Sesame Street aspect and starts talking about really what homelessness it looks like in the United States. And I think that this fact here is interesting to note, that 1 in 20 children younger than 6 years old in the United States experienced homelessness. Now, this isn't a problem that just exists, in other states or in other countries or in other towns. It's one that we face here locally as well. So just to be mindful, right? Here are some images from downtown Fresno and the homeless population that lives in that area. Each of these shacks or each of these boxes are places where people are living, and you can see tents, you can see cars. People are just making shelter out of anything. Additionally, downtown Fresno, near a place called the Poverello House, they offer these sheds to people that are living on the streets. And they don't have any running water, they don't have a bathroom, but it is a place that is warm and it's out of the elements. There's basically a bed, and you can kind of have some shelves in there. You can see the porta potties at the back of the picture, right? They've got to use those for the restroom. But it is a place where they can stay. And then the Poverello House that provides food and showers and things like that if people are needing it. This is annually the number of homeless children living in the U.S. In 2006, it was 1 in 50. That number goes up in 2010, just 4 years later, to 1 in 45. And then just 3 years after that, that number goes up extremely to 1 in 30 children. So this problem is on the rise. Now, granted, these numbers are from 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago. So we don't have current information. However, if the trend is the same, I would imagine that number has either stayed the same or increased. Now, when we talk about children being homeless, that definitely has an impact on them. So some of the facts on this infographic are important to note. They're 3 times more likely to be placed in special ed programs, 8 to 9 times more likely to repeat a grade in school. 42% have dropped out of school at least once. 47% suffer from anxiety, depression, or withdrawal, and then they are 7 times more likely to attempt suicide. So just being homeless without a place to stay is a problem in and of itself. However, the impact of that is even more on these students and on these families. All right, let's head back to our article. And one thing that I wanted you just to be aware of, there are people in the Sesame Street Corporation who are working to provide services and information to these families. So this woman, her name is Sherry Weston, is the president of Global Impact and Philanthropy. Philanthropy means you're working for people. We're working to help people. All right, and she just is talking about that they want to help disrupt the cycle of homelessness and these families facing that problem. When we talk about the word disrupt, right, here's some other synonyms: shake up, challenge, evolve. Also, I think of like, changing the flow of something or stopping something in its tracks. So you can use some of these terms, stopping or changing, right? Shake up, challenge. Any of those ones, jot that down on your article as far as a synonym for the word disrupt. All right, and then the last thing that I want you to do on your article is I want you to take a minute, you can pause the video if you need to, and I want you to answer this question. How does including a homeless character on a children's television show connect to a dystopian society? Does it support the idea that we currently live in a dystopian society? And if you answer yes, tell me how. If you say no, tell me how. I want you to jot this answer down onto your article in the bottom space that you have there. I want you to answer it in CER, and when you are done, I want you to highlight your text, your answer. And then again, you need to take a picture of both sides of your article and submit that for credit for this assignment. All right, guys, good luck. Have a good day.